Despite the age difference, the two sisters Megan and Amelia were very close friends. The older one, Megan, was always more serious than her younger sister. The frivolous Amelia was 7 years younger than Megan, with a simple attitude, unwilling to make any effort to achieve anything in life, counting on everything to happen by itself. Her main dream was to marry well and not worry about anything else. Megan, having graduated from school, left for the capital to enroll in university and arrange her personal life. There she met a decent young man named Tony. After receiving her degree, she married him and enjoyed a happy marriage for 3 years. But one evening, she got a phone call, which radically changed the rest of her life. Megan, having picked up the phone, heard her younger sister's joyful voice. Amelia announced her upcoming move to the capital and asked her sister to find her a job at the company where Megan was working. The older sister was happy because now she and Amelia would be together again and promised to help her find a job. Amelia was also married by then, and her husband Russell quickly found common ground with Tony, so they often spent their spare time together. One day, they decided to go bowling. Before the game, Amelia confessed that she did not know how to throw balls correctly to hit all pins. Her husband also appeared to be unfamiliar with the correct technique and could not help his wife. And then Tony came to Amelia's aid. He came up to her and began to explain to her the correct way to make throws. Megan suddenly felt that her husband pressed too closely to her younger sister, but she immediately pushed those thoughts away, convincing herself that it was silly and that she was just imagining things. Turning back to her conversation with Russell, she stopped paying attention to her husband and Amelia. Megan's life was going well, but somehow monotonous. She was over 30, and she firmly decided that she was ready for motherhood. But to her great grief, her husband was of a different opinion. Tony was not ready to take on such a responsibility and persuaded his wife to wait at least another couple of years and live for herself. But Amelia and Russell, on the contrary, proudly announced the upcoming addition to their family, and although Megan was happy for her sister, in her heart she was a little jealous. Soon Amelia gave birth to a boy, Nolan, and Megan became his godmother. The woman doted on her nephew, often looking after him if Amelia and Russell went out on any events. One day, Amelia and Russell went on a weekend trip to the neighbouring state and asked, as usual, Megan to look after Nolan. She gladly agreed, but since she had a lot of unfinished work issues, she decided to take her work home. Having finished her business and turned off her laptop, Megan quietly opened the door to the room where Tony and Nolan were playing railroad. Holding her breath, she watched this incredibly touching picture. She looked at them both for a long time and suddenly realized that Nolan looked very much like Tony. No, that's impossible. Nonsense. Why am I making up garbage? She thought. When Nolan's parents returned, Megan returned the child to them and thought that now would be a good time to talk to her husband about children again. When she saw him playing with the boy, she thought her husband was ready to be a father. But the conversation went nowhere again. Tony said that he was not ready, and Megan became furious. Since some time, the family life, without the possibility to give birth to a child, began to depress the woman. Her husband no longer aroused the former admiration in her, but, on the contrary, only a sense of irritation, and moreover, Megan saw increasingly suspicious resemblance of her nephew to Tony. As time passed, Nolan grew older and more like Tony. Megan also began to feel that there was some connection between her husband and sister. One weekend, when Amelia and Russell were going to their friend's wedding, Nolan again stayed with Megan. Evening came, his parents were late, and the woman decided to bathe the child. She took off the boy's shirt and then noticed a mole on his back, in the same place as Tony's. Megan shuddered at the painful conjecture, but still could not believe that this was possible. To avoid suffering from suspicion any more, the woman decided to take a DNA test and finally get to the bottom of this unpleasant situation. Megan took a strand of hair from her nephew, as well as from her husband, while he was sleeping, and took the samples to the lab the next day. 2 weeks passed. Megan, all this time, had not found a place. Finally, she opened the envelope with the result and bitterly sighed. The test confirmed the paternity of her husband. The woman immediately filed for divorce, not going to hide from her husband the reason for this decision. She thought for a long time about whether to tell Russell the truth, because no matter what, she did not want to ruin her own sister's life. But at the same time, Megan could not allow Amelia to keep deceiving such a good man like Russell. Finally, she did not directly tell Russell the truth, but she simply advised him to take a closer look at his son and her ex-husband. After that, Megan left the city.